This is a KCI Mini Vac Freedom. This is a vac that is, the VAC stands for Vacuum Assisted Closure. What it does, it cuts wound healing time in half by actually placing a sponge in the wound bed and using suction to pull all the drainage out. It also promotes granulation tissue. The way that the VAC system works is by putting the sponge, cutting it to the size of the wound, and covering the wound bed, and then connecting it to the VAC. And I'll take you step by step through that. First thing you want to do is measure your wound by using the sponge and kind of getting an idea as to what size you need. And just trimming the foam up to fit the wound bed. As shallow as this wound is here, we won't need this full sponge. We'll just cut this in half. This is the drape that is used to cover the foam and secure it in place. One of the first things you want to do is protect the skin around the wound. So you want to outline it with the drape itself. So you want to cut some of the drape off. And just cut strips to outline the wound bed. Now this is a clean procedure, it's not a sterile procedure. We like using skin prep, and this is to protect the skin. It helps the adhesive stick on the drape, and at the same time it protects his skin from getting irritated. So you just want to go all the way around the wound bed with this. Just give it a couple of seconds to set. And if you'll notice, the tape has a 1 and a 2. You'll take one off first, and then just outline the wound bed. It doesn't matter if it's too big, the tape isn't going to hurt them. Take one off and then 2, and then the blue. Easy way to remember that, just 1, 2, don't forget the blue. Then you'll outline the other side. And the plastic will stick to you. I usually use about 4 pieces, and that's just to make sure that all the surrounding skin is covered. Now this border around here is very important to use on there, because some people will cut the sponges to where they're just a little bit bigger, and what will end up happening is the wound will start macerating around the edges because it stays moist and the suction pulls on it. So by outlining it, you can actually make the sponge a little bit bigger, and it's not going to touch any good tissue. So if you notice, our sponge is cut perfect to size. So what you want to do now is you want to cut a piece of the drape that is going to cover the foam, and that will cover the foam perfectly. You'll set your sponge in place, making sure that it's tucked in wherever it needs to be tucked in at. Hold in place with one hand and just cover it with the drape. And once you have it in place, just make sure you've got a good seal all the way around it just by pushing down on it. Then you'll have your tubing that'll go there. And what we do with the tubing, if you notice there's no way to get to the sponge, this tubing has a hole right in the center of it. So you want to trim out an area so the line can come in place. You'll peel one end and make sure that the line is right over the hole. And then this will stick in place. Turn this up and pull the other one off. That was 1, 2, and don't forget the blue. You pull the blue off. Now once it's all hooked up, then you connect it to your back. There's only one way to connect the hose. It's got the two little male parts here, the two little females. And you just push in and twist to lock. And that locks. The same if you want to remove it. Say he wants to take a bath. You'll clamp it off on both ends. Twist and remove. He's able to move around, and when he gets through you can just hook it right back up and remove the clamps. Now once the tubing is connected, you do want to turn your machine on, and the power button is on the top left hand side. Just hold it down until it comes on. This machine is set to where in 15 seconds it'll automatically start, and everything is already set. And if you'll notice, there's a little timer right there on the right hand side, and it'll automatically start. Once it starts, you're going to notice the suction on the sponge here, and the sponge is going to get a lot smaller. The machine will purr for a few minutes, and the reason that it's purring is because there is air within the sponge, so it's removing all the air that's in there. You will not necessarily automatically see drainage coming out of the tube, but you will in time. But once it's running, you just make sure that you have a good seal everywhere just by pushing down on it, and the purring will stop eventually. As long as the alarm is not going off, the purring is normal. And that is how you do a vac.